So often I hear that capitalism is based on freedom of the individual, whereas socialism and communism denies the individual for the sake of the collective. Individualism is typically attractive to anarchists, ANCAPs, anarcho-socialists, and libertarians, as they believe that the only way to liberate society as a whole is to liberate the individual, even at the cost of the collective. However, I don't think the individual and collective distinction makes much sense. Our brains seem to have this difficulty understanding large numbers. For example, moral thought experiments often provide us with contradicting answers when dealing with different numbers. If we have a choice between releasing a chemical which will save 1 billion and kill 1 million, we often feel that we ought to save the billion. Yet the same logic would tell us to murder one person for organ harvesting, and we would typically feel bad for that one person being killed, yet not so when dealing with large numbers. This is because our brains are better at humanizing the small numbers. This is the same logic that exists within individualism, as if you think about what a collective is, it's merely a collection of individuals in a category called the collective. And this is the first problem with reducing everything to the individual. It only makes sense in a vacuum. Something like playing loud music or shooting a gun should be allowed. However, if we add the context of this person living in an apartment building, we see that this individual would contradict the will of other individuals. So in order to protect the rights of these other individuals, we have to take the greater context into account. This means accounting for the collective, not merely looking at the individual. This concept that everyone can simply do whatever they please only makes sense when you look at one individual in a vacuum. Society must take into account everyone. This means that some individuals cannot fully do what they like, as it contradicts with the will of others. In other words, we must structure society in accordance to the collective. Secondly, individuals acting on their own will necessarily form some collective apparatus. A society is something which emerges from the individual, and this society is more than the individual. It's emergent. In regards to a marketplace, when individuals act within a market, a certain state of the market will emerge representing the total collective will. Trying to go against these market forces will be disastrous and will personally punish you. A market force is therefore a tool for enforcing collective will. So what's wrong with enforcing other collective wills in the same way? That is, rejecting service to others who refuse the collective. So this concept of individualism only makes sense in a vacuum, which society does not exist under. And a collective will is going to emerge and be enforced no matter how one structures society. It is better to acknowledge the collective nature of society and structure it in a way to liberate the collective as a whole, as only with the liberation of the collective can the individual be truly liberated.